and welcome to Millennium News Hour. I am Tanziba Naurin. In today's news, we will present top and trending news from across the nation and the world. Let's begin with the headlines of the day. Three people killed at Michigan State University, gunman dead. First missile strike at aerial object over Lake Huron missed. Nikki Haley announces run for president challenging Trump. Open Hearts, Helping Hands, Jill Biden's Valentine to US. US renews warning it will defend Philippines after China spat. Idris Elba on James Bond, I am not going to be that guy. Kiev clamors for fighter jets as war nears critical phase. Russia denies claims it plans to destabilize Moldova. Gunmen storm hospital of newborns saved from quake in Syria. UN appeals for $397 million to help Syrian quake survivors. China's Xi expresses support for Iran amid Western pressure. Taiwan threatens to shoot down any Chinese balloons. Indian officials search BBC offices after Modi documentary. Toyota founder's son, who led global growth, dies at 97. Qatar donates World Cup mobile homes to earthquake survivors. New Zealand declares emergency as Cyclone Gabrielle eases. Super Bowl averages 113 million, third most watched in history. Colts hire Eagles OC Shane Steichen as their head coach. And FIFA targets 2030 World Cup host vote in September next year. Now news in detail. A gunman opened fire Monday night at Michigan State University, killing 3 people and wounding 5 more, before fatally shooting himself miles away after an hours-long manhunt that forced frightened students to hide in the dark. Police announced the man's death early Tuesday, 4 hours after shootings broke out at Berkeley Hall, an academic building, and later nearby at the MSU Union, a popular hub to eat or study. This truly has been a nightmare we are living tonight, said Chris Roseman, interim deputy chief of the campus police department. Police seek motive of gunman who killed 3 at Michigan State. Hundreds of officers had scoured the East Lansing campus, about 90 miles northwest of Detroit, for the suspect, whom police described as a short black man with red shoes, a jean jacket and a ball cap. The 43-year-old man was confronted by police off campus before killing himself with a self-inflicted gunshot wound, Rosman said. Investigators still were sorting out why Anthony McRae fired inside an academic building and the student union shortly before 8:30 p.m. Monday. The shootings led to a harrowing campus lockdown and a search for the gunman that ended roughly 3 hours later. The first US missile fired at an unidentified aerial object over Lake Huron missed the target and landed harmlessly in the water before a second one successfully hit, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff said Tuesday. The acknowledgement by General Mark Milley of the errant missile comes amid questions about whether the recent shutdown of aerial objects that military officials say didn't pose a threat is creating unnecessary risk. Milley said the military went to great lengths to make sure the strikes did not put civilians at risk, including identifying what the debris field size was likely to be and the maximum effective range of the missiles used. He also said in each case the Pentagon works to make sure that the airspace is clear and to evaluate the potential debris field before embarking on such a strike. The object taken down Sunday was the third in as many days to be shot from the skies. The White House has said the objects differed in size and maneuverability from a Chinese surveillance balloon that US fighter jets shot down earlier this month, but that their altitude was low enough to pose a risk to civilian air traffic. Weather challenges and the remote locations of where the three objects were shot down over Alaska, Canada, and Lake Huron have impeded recovery efforts so far, Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin told reporters Monday. Nikki Haley, the former South Carolina governor and United Nations ambassador, announced her candidacy for president on Tuesday, becoming the first major challenger to former President Donald Trump for the 2024 Republican nomination. The announcement, delivered in a tweeted video, marks an about-face for the ex-Trump cabinet official who said 2 years ago that she wouldn't challenge her former boss for the White House in 2024. But she changed her mind in recent months, citing, among other things, the country's economic troubles and the need for generational change, a nod to the 76-year-old Trump's age. "You should know this about me. I don't put up with the bullies. And when you kick back, it hurts them more if you are wearing heels," Haley said. "I am Nikki Haley and I am running for president." Haley, 51, is the first in a long line of Republicans who are expected to launch 2024 campaigns in the coming months. Among them are Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, former Vice President Mike Pence, former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, and Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina. President Joe Biden has said he intends to seek re-election in 2024, stalling any jostling for the Democratic nomination. The handprints of military children pressed onto paper hearts are decorating a corner inside the White House and the lawn as First Lady Jill Biden celebrates Valentine's Day. 3 large hearts, one with the message "Reach out with open hearts and helping hands this Valentine's Day," and 2 others featuring handprints are on display on the North Lawn in view of television cameras where White House correspondents stand for their live reports. Cutouts of Duck Commander and Cat Willow were also part of the display. The theme continues inside the executive mansion as a corner of the East Wing entrance was decorated with 3 more large hearts, all printed with love, and replicas of the dog and cat. Hearts bearing the children's handprints have been strung together and hung in a window for visitors taking public tours to see. The First Lady and the children worked on the heart projects when she visited the U.S. Army garrison Fort Drum, New York, home of the 10th Mountain Division, on January 30. The 3 to 5-year-old children were enrolled at Fort Drum South River Bridge Child Development Center. The visit was part of our Joining Forces initiative to support military and veteran families and their caregivers. The United States renewed a warning that it would defend its treaty ally if Filipino forces come under attack in the disputed South China Sea after a Chinese Coast Guard ship allegedly hit a Philippine petrol vessel with military-grade laser that briefly blinded some of its crew. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. summoned Chinese Ambassador Huang Jilian in Manila on Tuesday to express his serious concern over the increasing frequency and intensity of actions by China against the Philippine Coast Guard and fishermen, Communications Secretary Chiloy Garfield said without elaborating. The Department of Foreign Affairs separately sent a strongly worded diplomatic protest to the Chinese embassy that condemned the shadowing, harassment, dangerous maneuvers, directing of military-grade laser, and illegal radio challenges by the Chinese ship. The incident took place February 6 when the Chinese Coast Guard ship beamed high-grade lasers to block the Philippine petrol vessel BRP Malapascua from approaching St. Thomas Shoal on a resupply mission to Filipino forces there, according to Philippine officials. Actor Idris Elba says he is going to stick with being the tormented detective John Luther, not James Bond. Speaking Tuesday to the World Government Summit in Dubai, Elba brought up the persistent discussions about him taking over as Ian Fleming's famed British spy. Those had grown louder after Daniel Craig's demise as Bond in the 25th film in the franchise called No Time to Die. Asked about his upcoming film based on the British series Luther, Elba clearly took himself out of playing 007. It's very dark, Elba said of the series. We have been working on the television show for about 10 years, and so the natural ambition is to take it to the big screen. And so we are here with the first movie, he added. You know, a lot of people talk about another character that begins with J and ends with B, but I'm not going to be that guy. I'm going to be John Luther. That's who I am. Luther, The Fallen Sun is due to come out in American theaters on February 24, then stream on Netflix beginning March 10. It also co-stars Andy Serkis and other actors from the television series. Now it's time for Global Update. Ukraine on Tuesday renewed its appeal to Western countries for fighter jets to help frustrate Moscow's almost year-long invasion, but owned no assurances at a high-level defense meeting in Brussels that it would receive any combat aircraft. I don't have any announcements on aircraft to make today, U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin told reporters after chairing a meeting of the Ukraine Defense Contact Group at NATO headquarters, where 54 countries were represented. Even so, Ukraine's allies pledged more weapons, ammunition, and tanks as senior defense officials at the meeting said the war with Russia is approaching a critical stage. This isn't about one single capability, Austin told a press conference, referring to the war plans. It's about delivering all the capabilities that we promised. It's about integrating these systems together. The first challenge, he said, is to make sure all the military aid is used effectively. Russia on Tuesday angrily rejected the Moldovan president's claims about an alleged plot by Moscow to overthrow her government and accused Moldovan authorities of trying to distract public attention away from the country's own domestic problems. Moldova's president Maia Sandu said Monday that the purported Russian plot envisioned attacks on government buildings, hostage takings, and other violent actions by groups of saboteurs in order to put the nation at the disposal of Russia and derail its hopes to join the European Union. Responding Tuesday, Russia's foreign ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova dismissed Sandu's claims as absolutely unfounded and unsubstantiated. They are built in the spirit of classical techniques that are often used by the United States, other Western countries, and Ukraine, Zakharova said. First, accusations are made with reference to purportedly classified intelligence information that cannot be verified, and then they are used to justify their own illegal actions. Sandu's claim came a week after neighboring Ukraine's President Vladimir Zelensky said his country had intercepted plans by Russian secret services to destroy Moldova. Moldovan intelligence officials later said that they confirmed the allegations. Gunmen stormed a hospital in North Syria where a baby girl is receiving care after being born under the rubble of her family's earthquake-shattered home, a hospital official said Tuesday, adding that the attackers beat the clinic's director. The official denied reports on social media claiming that the Monday night attack was an attempt to kidnap the infant, named Aya, Arabic for a sign from God. Aya has been at the hospital since hours after the February 6 earthquake that hit Turkey and Syria. Her mother, father, and 4 siblings died in the disaster. Aya has been closely followed since her birth, and people from around the world have been offering to help her. The official, who spoke on condition of anonymity for fear of reprisals, said the hospital's director had suspected that a nurse who was taking pictures of Aya was planning to kidnap her and kicked him out of the hospital. The nurse returned hours later accompanied by gunmen who beat up the director, the official said. The director's wife has been breastfeeding Aya, her doctor said previously. The United Nations chief launched a $397 million appeal Tuesday to help nearly 5 million survivors of last week's devastating earthquake in rebel-held northwest Syria, who have received very little assistance because of deep divisions exacerbated by the country's 12-year war. Secretary General Antonio Guterres announced the appeal a day after he welcomed an agreement between the United Nations and Syrian President Bashar Assad to open 2 new crossing points from Turkey for an initial period of 3 months. The UN has only been allowed to deliver aid to the northwest Idlib area through a single crossing at Bab al-Hawa, at Syrian ally Russia's insistence. Guterres said the scale of the devastation caused by the magnitude 7.8 earthquake that ravaged southern Turkey and northwestern Syria on February 6 is one of the worst in recent memory. And we all know that life-saving aid has not been getting in at the speed and scale needed. He said the $397 million will provide desperately needed life-saving relief for nearly 5 million Syrians, including shelter, healthcare, food and protection for 3 months. Chinese leader Xi Jinping expressed support for Iran during a visit by its president on Tuesday, as Tehran tries to expand relations with Beijing and Moscow to offset Western sanctions over its nuclear development. The official Chinese account of Xi's meeting with Ibrahim Raisi gave no indication whether they discussed Russia's attack on Ukraine. Tehran supplied military drones to Russian President Vladimir Putin's government, but says they were delivered before the war began. She expressed support for Raisi's government in language Beijing uses to criticize Washington's domination of global affairs. China and Iran portray themselves alongside Moscow as counterweights to American power. China supports Iran in safeguarding national sovereignty and resisting unilateralism and bullying, she said in a statement carried by Chinese state TV on its website. Xi and Raisi attended the signing of 20 cooperation agreements, including trade and tourism, the Chinese government announced. Those add to a 25-year strategy agreement signed in 2021 to cooperate in developing oil, industry, and other fields. Amid speculation over alleged Chinese spy balloons, Taiwan's defense ministry said Tuesday it would shoot down any suspected military object coming close to its shores from mainland China. Major General Huang Wenqi, the Assistant Deputy Chief of General Staff for Intelligence, told reporters that the self-governing island was on guard for any incursions, but had yet to find any that had penetrated its defenses. Balloons found so far around Taiwan were used for meteorological exploration, he said. They were relatively small and light and would burst after rising to an altitude that could be threatening. Taiwan has yet to find targets requiring a lethal response, he said. China, which claims Taiwan as its territory to be reunited by force if necessary, regularly sends fighter jets and other military assets into Taiwan's airspace and sea lanes. India's tax officials searched BBC offices in New Delhi and Mumbai on Tuesday, weeks after it showed a documentary critical of Prime Minister Narendra Modi in the UK, the broadcaster said. Rights groups and opposition politicians denounced the move by India's income tax department as an attempt to intimidate the media. The BBC said it was cooperating fully with authorities and hoped to have this situation resolved as soon as possible. Indian tax authorities declined to comment. The tax department was looking at documents related to the BBC's business operations and its Indian arm, the Press Trust of India news agency reported, citing unidentified sources. The Editors Guild of India denounced the move, saying it continues a trend of using government agencies to intimidate and harass press organizations that are critical of government policies or the ruling establishment. Shoichiro Toyoda, who as a son of the company's founder oversaw Toyota's expansion into international markets, has died. He was 97. Toyota, the company's honorary chairman, died Tuesday of heart failure, Toyota Motor Corporation said in a statement. He was the father of Akio Toyoda, who recently announced he was stepping down as president and chief executive to become its chairman. Shoichiro was the eldest son of Kiichiro Toyoda, who founded Toyota in 1937. After becoming Toyota's president in 1982, Shoichiro Toyoda helped direct Toyota's transformation into a global automaker, especially in the vital US market, where its brand became synonymous with quality, durability, cost performance, and engineering finesse. Both father and son experienced the difficult years of Japan bashing when powerful Japanese exporters like Toyota were blamed for taking away American blue-collar jobs. Qatar plans to send 10,000 cabins and caravans from last year's World Cup to provide shelter for survivors of the Turkish earthquakes, officials said. The gas-rich Gulf nation says it had always planned to donate the mobile homes. They were needed to help house some of the 1.4 million fans who descended on the small country during soccer's biggest tournament. An initial batch of 350 structures was shipped out on Sunday, the Qatar Fund for Development said. The magnitude 7.8 and 7.5 quakes that struck 9 hours apart on February 6 killed more than 35,000 people in southeastern Turkey and war-torn northern Syria. The toll is expected to climb even further as search and rescue teams find more bodies. Tens of thousands of buildings were destroyed or severely damaged, leaving millions homeless. As shelters filled up in the days after the quake, many were forced to sleep outside in wet, wintry weather. The New Zealand government declared a national state of emergency Tuesday after Cyclone Gabrielle battered the country's north in what officials described as the nation's most severe weather event in years. A firefighter was missing and another was rescued with critical injuries after they were caught in a landslide overnight near the country's largest city, Auckland, authorities said. Auckland was swamped 2 weeks ago by a record-breaking storm that killed 4 people. The national emergency declaration enables the government to support affected regions and provide additional resources, the government said. It is only the third national emergency ever declared. The country was lashed by intense rainfall overnight that forced evacuations of 2,500 people and brought widespread flooding, road closures including the main road between Auckland and the capital Wellington, and left communities isolated and without telecommunications. Weather conditions eased Tuesday as the weather system tracked southeast over ocean away from New Zealand, a nation of 5 million people. Now it's time for business news. Today's New York stock close price is 16,025.11. The NYSE Composite is decreased by 27.14 points or 0.17%. Tokyo stock close price is 27,602.77. The Nikkei 225 index is increased by 175.45 points or 0.64%. Shanghai stock close price is 3,293.2825. The Shanghai Composite Index is increased by 9.12 points or 0.28%. Hong Kong stock close price is 21,113.76. The Hang Seng Index is decreased by 50.66 points or 0.24%. Bombay stock close price is 61,032.26. The Sensex index is increased by 600.42 points or 0.99%. Let's have a look on today's sports stories. Fox was hoping the matchup of two top teams in the Super Bowl and a close game would lead to a record night, even though Sunday's game between the Kansas City Chiefs and Philadelphia Eagles came down to a field goal with 8 seconds remaining. Fox fell just short of its goal. The Chiefs' rally to defeat the Eagles 38-35 is on pace to become the third most watched television show in history, with an estimated 113 million people watching, according to preliminary numbers released Monday. Fox said the audience estimate includes the broadcast on Fox and Fox Deportes as well as streaming on Fox and the NFL's digital sites. The figures are via Nielsen's First National Data and Adobe Analytics. The 2015 game between New England and Seattle on NBC holds the record at 114,442,000 viewers, followed by Super Bowl 51 in 2017 on Fox between Atlanta and New England. The Indianapolis Colts have hired Shane Steichen as their head coach. The move, announced Tuesday, ends a search that took more than a month, involved more than a dozen candidates, and finally gives the Colts some direction in what still appears to be a tumultuous offseason. A news conference was scheduled for later in the day. Each of Indy's last two full-time hires were offensive coordinators for Philadelphia Eagles teams that made the Super Bowl. Frank Reich was hired in 2018 after the Eagles won their first championship since 1960, but was fired in October as the Colts' season started to unravel. He was replaced by interim coach Jeff Saturday, who won his first game but lost the final 7 to give Indy the number 4 overall draft pick. Saturday was one of the finalists for the full-time job. The 2030 World Cup hosts are expected to be picked in September next year, FIFA said Tuesday. FIFA's ruling council confirmed a timetable for bidding and a vote to be held in the third quarter of next year by around 200 member federations. FIFA has long targeted a decision in 2024 for the tournament that is currently scheduled to have 48 teams. A separate election meeting will be held earlier in 2024 to pick a host for the 2027 Women's World Cup, soccer's governing body said. The three 2026 hosts of the Men's World Cup, the United States, Canada and Mexico, all had their expected automatic entries in the 48-team finals tournament, confirmed Tuesday. It will be the first edition expanded from the 32-team tournament that was introduced in 1998. FIFA also picked Saudi Arabia, a potential candidate in the 2030 contest, to host the next Club World Cup from December 12 to 22 in the latest addition to the kingdom's sports hosting ambitions. Let's have a look on today's weather forecast. That's all in today's news. Keep watching Millennium News 24 for latest updates. Millennium TV USA and Millennium News 24 network is transmitted and available to be watched free for all at TVs such as Sony, Samsung, LG, Roku TV, Amazon TV and Apple TV. And also in all European countries and Australia available with the Sky Network, Worldwide Jagu TV, Radiant IPTV, Worldwide Jagu BD Network and Horizon Satellite globally. Stay connected with us for all types of informative and entertainment program. Thank you.